Welcome to the Transform Your Wellness podcast. I'm Karin Hagberg, and I'm a health, wellness, and life coach who help people transform their wellness and life and help them create more balance, ultimate wellness, and a life they love. The Transform Your Wellness podcast is heartfelt conversations with incredible people who are contributing and following their passion and soul purpose. It's conversations with people who have not only transformed their own life, but also contribute to the world by helping others transform as well. Today, I have the absolute privilege to have a heartfelt conversation with Marion OMace. Marion is a leading international teacher with over 30 years experience in mind, body, and spirit technologies. And in her time as a practitioner, she started observing matrices and number codes, which led to a burning desire to understand what these meant. It was after her husband, Brian Power, overcame a severe health challenge in 2011 with the help of Dr. Grigory Grabovoy's teachings, that both knew this was the knowledge to assist with the shift of their collective consciousness. This creator knowledge is a harmonious merging of science and spirituality, laying their foundation, enabling each person to discover just how powerful their consciousness truly is. In fact, you become the explorer of your inner world while playing the fabric of time and space using the dynamic elements of creation. It's an absolute pleasure to have the opportunity to delve into this area and learn more today. I don't think anything really happens by coincidence, as I met you, lovely Marion, in a cafe in Bright, Victoria, Australia, where I myself had just relocated to. So I believe we were definitely meant to meet. So today's title of this podcast is Your Missing Numbers Are Your Power Keys. And this is a topic that I personally find incredibly interesting. And I'm sure as you as a listener would love to learn more about this as well. So saying that, welcome, Marion. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you, Karin. And yes, I think we were destined to meet one way or another.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start because I don't know much about you, Marion. So I thought if you can give us a little bit, just a background, where did you grow up and how was your childhood?
So I've always lived in Melbourne. So I grew up in Melbourne and shifted from one side of what we call the Yarra, the southern side, and now I'm living in the northern side. And so I had a pretty normal childhood. I was adopted into a family, a beautiful family of my mother was a teacher and my father worked in the government. And so everything was pretty normal. They're very logical thinkers and probably less creative. However, I was more creative and intuitive, but clearly I had to sort of learn the other side. I was actually came from a long family. All of my grandfather, my uncles, there were many teachers in the family. So I think I was dropped into that family because I needed to learn something. And also because, well, I was going to meet my husband from being in that family,
Oh,
my current husband. So Brian is my second cousin, and so we've been together for 12 years, although he tells me that he had a crush on me when we were quite young. But,
how
but
amazing is that?
I know, and it's really funny when we used to see each other at family events, and we sort of got on in that, but never thought anything of it. And if you listen to Brian talk, he will say, "Oh, you turned up at one of the family events, and you were married, and then all of a sudden you've got three kids in your 20s." And then the next time I sort of caught up with you, now you're with another husband and you've still got the three kids. And so it wasn't until until about 13 years ago that we got together, just after Brian's little cancer journey. We
Mm.
had 35 rounds of chemo, etc. And I think this was the right time for us to be together because we often talk about what would have happened if we got together previously. And like everyone on a journey, everything's there to help to evolve and to grow. And I think if I hadn't gone through a lot of things, especially two marriages, the second one, which sent me on my journey in a spiritual path, because I thought, well, gosh, the only common denominator here is me. So what's the problem? What aren't I getting? And it was when I was thinking of leaving my second husband that a mentor said to me, if you don't understand what's actually happening, you'll have another life lesson. And it was like, no, I don't think I'm ready for another life lesson. Thanks very much. So I really got to see that I was being shown via my husband aspects of myself that I hadn't learned to love.
Mm.
And having gone through that work and being able to learn how to collapse lopsided perceptions of reality, that I had this way of viewing the world where most people don't, that I, instead of looking for and complaining about what was missing in their life, I was able to see where I was actually getting what I desired, just in another form or shape and in another way. And so that sort of led me on to, that was probably the last thing I did. We all start off in Reiki or
Mm.
um, lots of healing modalities, forensic healing, lots of different things.
Mm.
And at the same time, I sort of ended up in the beauty industry and ended up teaching in the beauty industry. So I've done a few things. I've had a life that most psychologists would say, oh my gosh, you've had some of those major events that would, wound most people. So I think finding myself in relationships and discovering how powerful it is to fall in love with you and love your life before you're ready to meet somebody else was probably the key. Then that when Brian and I did get together, it was like twin flames coming together and a meeting of like-minded people and a journey we were destined to move together with.
Wow, isn't that amazing? So, as you said, when you were in your early days, you were very creative in a family that was very logical. And yeah, I can definitely relate to that because I'm absolutely the same as you, very creative and kind of struggle in that logical space, even in my past and my journey as well through being married and gone through that and operate on a different level. But how beautiful that you've had all those learnings and can look at it and go, you know, I mean, there's no mistakes. There's only learnings, isn't it? And if you can um, come from that space and then learn to love yourself, then we become ready to receive. And it obviously is where when we're ready to meet your, as you say, your soul flame or how you described it. And that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Well, it was funny because, it was after Brian had had all these treatments. So we ended up in Port Punker in near Bright,
Mm.
and it was a full moon. And I'd agreed to take him up there because he says Mount Buffalo is his magic mountain for healing. So it was a full moon. I'm sitting by the river, and all of a sudden, intuitively, I get that I need to put my hands on the back of his heart. And as soon as I did that, it was like a lightning bolt came through. There was a realigning or alignment of our chakras. My heart opened. I felt so much love. I gave him a hug, and then I thought, oh, he's my cousin. And I pulled back.
Um,
Something had activated, the twin flame activation had happened in that moment. And it's very rare for twin flames to actually turn up on the planet. But at this point of time in history, there are more twin flames coming together to work together at shifting and awakening humanity and humanity's consciousness.
mm. Wow. And it certainly is a beautiful place. I hear that from many people, Mount Buffalo particularly.
Yeah.
And it was about 2 years ago since I actually came to Mount Beauty, Marion. Yeah, I had this feeling straight away, and I never know. I'm very intuitive, and I just knew straight away I'll be back. I had no idea how and when, and now I'm here. There's obviously a reason why I'm here, but it's a powerful place. I find this is a place where the energy is pretty amazing, eh? Up in this area.
And the reason that we've been coming up to Bright so often is because Brian's working on a hydrogen project that's going to absolutely shift what's happening currently and make it very available. And a beautiful network of friends that we've made up there is certainly making sure that we're going to take it up into that area
Mm,
quite
mm.
strongly. So, yeah, everything keeps drawing us back up there anyway.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I did not really know much about what you were doing up until really a few days ago. I looked into your website and then I discovered it was all about number code sequences. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But I just want to say, in the last 2 weeks, I've been delving into a little bit of the life path numbers, and I don't know if there's any similarity, but for some reason, I've been looking into numbers more. And then when I started, doing more research about what you were doing, it was all about number code sequences. So tell us a little bit more about that, because as you say, numbers, behind every number, there's a corresponding vibrational structure. So tell us a little bit more about that.
So, if I take a step back and look at our whole multiverse, everything that has been created in our world and all the universes is all into a beautiful mathematic form or geometric structure. Many people will know the flower of life as a geometric structure. But even our body, if we look at Leonardo's picture of the Venturian man, it's all about geometric forms and then how it is, like, for instance, the distance between each knuckle is to the ratio of phi, 1 is to 1.618, the same from here to here. So, God, creator, source energy, whatever you want to call it, didn't just sort of, got this skin of a human and shoved everything in there and go, good on you, good luck with it all. Everything's in there, and it's in there to a mathematical scale.
Mm.
Now, one of the things that Grigory Grabovoi, who's a world-renowned physicist, a clairvoyant, a scientist, inventor, he actually sees any distortions in the field around us that can be harmonized with sequences. So even our body has 22,500 different number sequences to harmonize it. But getting back to your question, then it makes sense that when we decide to come to Earth a good 3 years as a soul, and we have created the events that we're going to need to evolve, that we also chose a special code to assist us when we were here on Earth. And so that special code is the date that your soul decided to turn up on the Earth.
So your birth date, or
Your birth date. And so that is your power numbers. They're
okay.
the ones that help you. And your missing numbers are your journey. When people say, I don't know what I'm here to do, you're here to do your missing numbers, and mostly you're doing them anyway, but you've just probably have no idea that you are. And a lot of people, when they go through life, they're already harmonizing the numbers that are missing. And so, but some people go through the whole life and never do that. So I bet the best way to describe this to you is if I did your missing numbers, Karin, and then explained it like that. So what's your birth date?
It's 22nd of August, 1969.
So you're missing a 3, you're missing a 4, you're missing a 5, and you're missing a 7, which is pretty normal for people that are born in the 1900s. For people born after the 1900s, the kids after 2000, they miss a lot of numbers. So they're here to do a lot of things, but not just that, but they come with other gifts.
Yeah.
So if I just talk about your missing numbers, what it tells me about you, and then your journey of your numbers, so it gives you a little bit. So you have one in your birth date, and ones are about ideas, about beginnings. So you will have ideas and you will begin, and you've got two twos. So you two is about action. You'll take your idea and put it into action. Three is about, and you're missing a three, is about traveling a path to get to the result. So this is what's happened to you in the past. You've had an idea, you've put it into action, you started down the path, and you've questioned whether it's actually the right path for you. So you've started something new and gone down the path again. So this has happened a lot to you in the past. But you get to a point where you go, no, I'm putting my line in the sand, I'm continuing down this path and seeing what unfolds, the adventure, the journey, and then what you can accomplish through the persistence of getting a result. Then you look back and go, oh my gosh, look what I've done. Fantastic, big tick. And so you've learned probably, or are in the process of learning, you're missing three to continue down the path, even if you can't see what's going to happen or have no idea, and it seems like you're back from Mount Beauty and into the same area. The next number you're missing is a four, and four is about your connection with the outer world. So I'll tell you what missing fours do, and I've got a missing four, so I understand. I ask this question to everybody around the world, and they all say the same. So what happens with the missing four is they don't feel confident in the outside world. In fact, especially young kids, they feel scared about the outside world. And I noticed from my grandkids who have missing four, it'll be, where are we going? Who's going to be there? What's going to happen? So they need to know so they compare themselves to feel safe. But what happens for us is generally a good example would be you go to an event, and most missing fours like to go and help in the kitchen first or help out in some way. And then they go around the room and start to think, okay, who do I feel sort of like I might resonate with or I feel comfortable with? They go up, they've got their shield on, the wall's up, they start talking to the person, and when they find an area that they feel comfortable, then the wall comes down and then people get to see the real person. And so the lesson of the missing four is about going into the outer world and feeling totally okay with you. Know that your soul has got your back, that you have your back, and what other people think of you is none of your business. So it's about feeling comfortable to go into the outer world. The missing five is about I'll just say one more thing about missing four. Often people will come up and tell missing fours anything out of the blue, and as if they take their burden of what's happening, put it on your shoulders. And missing fours can often feel the burdens of other people until they learn to flick it off. Missing five in your birth date means about your connection with your inner world, about developing a good connection in your inner world and understand your inner world's more real than the outer projection. That five is about also creating healthy boundaries. So in the past, you haven't created healthy boundaries or have felt lost within yourself. You have a six. A six is the base of light, the foundation of knowledge. So a lot of people turn up into workshops or go to gurus or people because they have a missing six, because they feel that somebody outside of them has more knowledge. But with this six, it's even saying to you, you come in with the foundation of light, you come in with the knowledge. It's about you tapping into your inner knowledge. You're missing a seven, and seven's about the power of love. So you will have done things in the past because you should or have to, out of obligation. You haven't done them because you love to do it. So I'll talk from the perspective of somebody that has a seven. I can't do anything that I don't love or don't see a purpose to. And the flip side to that is, the negative part is that is, you can be a bit of a procrastinator and not do anything because you don't feel like you love it.
Yeah.
So you do have an eight. So here how it works for you. You've come up with an idea, you've put it into action with the two, you've persisted with your three, And your ideas are always in perfect time. So 8 is about time. So people with a missing 8, often they get frustrated when things don't work out, and there's something called divine timing. And along the way, these people have had to learn patience, and they all go, yes, that's
Yeah.
the problem. You've got two nines. Nines, the connection to creator source. So it's like you're very well connected with two nines. It's like having an angel on each shoulder. And you have I put a 0 next to your 8, your month of birth, because this is a transition number. It's a portal number, a transformation number. So if I was to look at your birthday, you came in action, 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 to transform in the perfect time with new ideas that lead to the harmony of creation based on the foundation of the knowledge you have within, which is really grounding in that new earth, that new 5D consciousness that all of us who are aware are working towards. So that was your gifts you came in with, that was your journey, and your missing numbers is what you're here to master.
Okay. So when you say past, are you talking past in this life or past lifetime or past generations and different timelines? What are you?
This, because it relates to the birth date you decided to come into in this life.
Okay, so my past in this life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how can one use that in a positive sense? So when I find out what I've struggled with or whatever my missing numbers are, by looking at them, it gives me the power to kind of
No,
transform or
yeah.
evolve from there.
Yeah. Well, you've got grandkids, right? And so, and you can do this for them. So, say your grandchild is missing a 3, and we
Yeah.
know what kids are doing. They start on one thing, and then they go, "Oh, I'm sick of this. I'm going to move on to this." You can say, "Ha, wait a minute. Let's pack this up, and then we can move on to this." So you can, knowing that they're missing the 3, you have to help them to get to a completion with things, to travel a path
Yeah.
where they mightn't able. And the interesting thing is, if you did your whole family, like your mum and dad and family members and daughter and grandkids, you'll see that you're all working off some similar missing numbers. And so that's really interesting, because
Oh,
then you're
wow.
all wearing the same stuff with each other. As I said, I've done this to hundreds of people around the world, and it's all the same, all the
Oh,
same.
it's amazing, really, because I mean, yeah, that makes me think there's absolutely no coincidences. I mean, on one hand, we think it's just that it's behavioral patterns, but it's not just that.
It's
It's
not
not
that
just
there's
behavioral patterns. We actually, it's like passing down generational trauma in some ways. I mean, we're passing down patterns.
Yeah, well, when your grandmother was pregnant with your mother, you were there. So you get 6 generations of your family stuff to work on in this life. And you can see it in patterns. You can often see it in patterns. And I think that's probably why I started seeing number codes, because I even count. I go to the pool
Yeah.
and I'm counting how many times my feet are, are kicking. It's like I'm always counting. I'm always seeing numbers. I'm seeing
Mm.
patterns. And I think that's why in when I say I play with the fabric of time and space, I see it in my inner world. Like I see the distortions like rips in the fabric of time and space. I see where the distortion is. I don't know whether that's being a Virgo, but I see where the distortion is, and then I shift it out. So I'll give you a good example and a real life scenario. So Brian and I are working on this hydrogen project. We have some massive investors coming in, and the finance has been held up a little bit. And so most people, because we have team members here who get into the fear, like, why hasn't it happened? Ring them up and find out why and all that. And it's like, well, we don't operate like that. We look into the field, with our consciousness, and have a look and see if there's any blocks or distortions along the way, and then we just shift it like you're moving building blocks and
Yeah.
play with the fabric of time and space. And then, if it looks clear, get out of the way and understand there's a process happening. There's a reason why, and you just have to stay in a neutral position, still moving ahead, not frozen in time because it hasn't happened. We're still move ahead, but you totally getting out of your way and stopping and blocking it through your negative thinking.
Mm, mm. So, yeah, like everything is vibration in the universe. So you're very fascinated with numbers. What about um, other things like sound or voice or words or, you know?
So funny you should say that. So part of my creativity when I was young, I've been singing, and I used to be on stage and sing and act since I was really little. So music is extremely powerful, and one of the levels of consciousness in Grabavoy is words. Words are spells.
Yeah,
We
exactly. Yeah.
Words are spells, and many people are finding out how a whole English language has been twisted, what it means really. And in fact, our words are creating standing waves of consciousness through frequency into the field. And of course, when you match that with an emotion, and say you're really upset and you've got harsh words, you're actually sending it into the field, you're seeding the future. And what happens is our past, and now we talk about past lives from when we first turned up as a spark, as a soul in the universe. Our past, if it has any distortions in its timeline, you will have echoes into the future, and it will all enfolds back into the present in like a torus field. Energy is coming from the past and from the future, and we're getting to see it in front of us in the moment. Now, one of the things that I'm lucky I have access to is a quantum technology called Time Waver. And
Yes.
Time Waver takes a snapshot of your matrix, of your biofield in time and space, and then shows on multiple levels what's really going on, where your thoughts are, what your emotions are, wrong programming, what you've brought from the past, what's happening with your body. It's quite specific. But when I read Time Waver reports, when I go through, there's one or two key themes. And so, just to give you an example, I read a gentleman's time waiver report recently, and everything that was coming up, especially in the corrections, was all around self worth. The reason why things were happening to him was because of how he saw himself and his own self worth. And so that was the key at everything happening in his life, because what happens is when your inner world is in turmoil, it gets projected into the outer world and played out in people and situations, so that we end up having lessons, life lessons. And most people have no idea of that. Sometimes you do, when you can see a pattern, especially in a family where there has been a lack of self-worth. You can identify
Mm.
it. But when you start to look at the world of what's being mirrored to me, what am I triggered with, and how you know, because you're generally verbally pointing at somebody else, like you did this, you're this, but they're actually mirroring that part of you. So your words, what you speak, your thoughts, what you do is all having an impact in your biofield, and it's really impacting you right till it hits your physical body. And it's generally when it hits your physical body that people start to go, I need to fix this. But it started a long time before that.
Yeah. Incredible. I just love all this.
Tell you a little, tell you a
Love it all. And then when I listen to you, I go, oh my God. Like, how could we have just bumped into each other? I had no idea. And we're
little.
so aligned. It just blows my mind.
Do you want
Anyway,
to, can I tell you a little quick story that's, this is Source Creator laughing, you know.
yeah. Yeah.
So, when I was a practitioner, my title of my business was M Power, Mind, Body and Spirit.
Mm.
And um, so I'm dropped into a family, not my birth family. I'm dropped into another family where I'm destined to meet my husband, Brian Power. He is working, he's
Yeah.
working in the power industry, and together in our Business Equals VS, we are empowering people. I mean, I just laughed when I put it all together. You're just bloody shitting me.
Oh God, it's funny.
Yeah, it's incredible how when you look at when you can look back with the wisdom of time and see
Mm.
it.
Yeah. And yeah, it's I was going to say it's really interesting times now in the world we now in the awakening world, you know. And at this I guess the journey for me started a long time ago, chipping away. And it's about 3 years ago when it really came in the forefront. What came to me was this is the time to go within. This is the time to go within and really reflecting. And what you were saying before that, you know, what we kind of putting out there, whatever, is a true just reflection of it's a mirror back. So again, it gives us a chance to, take a look at ourselves and become more aware and more awake, eh?
Yeah, and you don't even have to even micro bring it down to a micro level. I mean, you look at the collective consciousness. We are all connected in a unified field.
Mm.
When we are in alignment, we actually send so much light and energy into the field, and when we're not in alignment, we actually suck it out of the field as well.
Mm.
So even today, even yesterday, like yesterday was a quite a good day with the Schumann resonance. Schumann resonance is the frequency of the earth. It's usually 8.63, and yesterday it was 54 hertz. There was a massive lot of 5D light coming in, and like I'm just like, phew, somebody's put me in the PowerPoint, and I'm
Yeah.
just full of energy. But when I'm around people who are in their fear, it's you can feel the denseness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And especially, I suppose you're like me, you're empathic.
Yeah.
So
Good.
you have to be really mindful of who you're around. But
Yeah.
so if we want to fix the collective consciousness, we have to fix ourselves, because in fixing the distortion in us, it fixes it for everyone else.
Mm. Mm.
It's a effect.
It's really like we got to heal ourselves to heal the world, to heal and to raise the frequency. That's literally what I was meaning before. We got to face our dark side, really. We got to face everything, strip ourselves bare and take a look at everything so we can raise, um, the collective consciousness. That's how I see it. But how can we, how can we more than just look at ourselves, how can we inspire people, do you think, to go on that path, to be more self reflective, to be brave enough to step into their own heart space, than being in there, relying on the outside? Because, I mean, we are so conditioned, are we, through years and years, people like to be led.
Well,
People
we're
like to be led.
programmed to be led.
Aren't we? We're programmed to be led. So to kind of get people to, I guess, realize they've got immense power, and to be brave enough to take should I say, take a good look at themselves and their life and how they do things. Um, how do you think we can facilitate that in a gentle way, so we can, get all of humanity if we can?
I don't think we need all of humanity. I know that we only need a percentage, and then there's that hundredth monkey
Yeah,
effect.
yeah, yeah.
If you talk to people 3 years ago,
Mm.
um, they were a lot more unconscious of what's going on, and a few years down the track,
Yeah.
uh, a few more people have woken up. But I think the start is you have to make a decision. And for me, like for me, when my mentor said to me, so if you don't get what's going on, you're going to have a few more life lessons. I thought, no, no, thank you. I'm not.
I don't want any more.
I had to make a decision. It was like with volition in that moment, I need to master me. And it is the programming. And even with I had a group this morning I was talking about, and they're so used to being told what to do and what to think. It's like when you talk to people, oh well, if it was the truth, it'd be in the media.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's so, but you have to go on your own adventure. You have to have the skin in the game for yourself.
Mm, mm,
So, I think it's only encouraging people that it doesn't have to be hard work.
mm.
Because when I said to you, the journey that I've been on, and what changed it for me in Grabavoy is, I've been playing in the energy field and, in the mind field for a long time for what I've studied and everything. But one of the things is everything starts off as information, like at the creator level. Then it comes through as light, um, into our consciousness that forms energy that we perceive either mentally, emotionally, chemically, it changes in our body, and then physically. And that's based on how we view things in the outer world, our perception, our judgment of what's happening to us as either good or bad. Now, how I play in the field is instead of trying to intercept at all those other levels there, I go back and change the information, and this collapses all that.
Mm, mm,
So, playing with um, geometry and seeing it when it's in distortion and not in harmony, using number sequences, for instance, to create harmony. Because one of the things is uh, number code sequences are light language.
mm,
Your consciousness and your soul understand it without your left brain. So, when you have a number sequence together, number two is not arguing with number three and has a different perception than number eight. Each number means a certain thing and it has a frequency. And when you say a sequence of numbers together, it acts like a key in the lock that goes into the field where the distortion is and starts to turn the key and starts to harmonize the information. And so
mm.
that's why a lot of people come to Grigori Grabavoy's teachings, is because there are so many number code sequences for everything.
Yeah. So we'll say someone has created an illness, for example.
Yeah.
There would be a certain frequency to that, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And what would be a way people can resolve that through frequency healing? I mean, I'm all into frequency healing myself. I've got different frequencies of devices, and then we got sound, all that sort of stuff too. Tell us a little bit about that. If someone has come to the point where it's manifested as a physical illness, what would you suggest a person could do in terms of number sequencing?
Yeah, good. So first of all, you have to realize that it turning up in your body has happened over a period of time for it to get there, and sometimes when it's really severe, it's like the last ditched attempt of your soul to get your attention. So it's in your body, and now you need to pay attention to it because you haven't listened. So I don't unpack what happened, why it happened, and who were the players in that. I start to do a couple of things. We have a process in words using number sequences. I go back, for instance, and change the past. And it's in words, it's like shifting timelines. I could use a number sequence for that. So that harmonizes the past. Then I would use one of the spheres, like a silvery white sphere of creation. And inside it, I would place the number sequence corresponding to what I'm wanting to work on. And then I look at the number sequence and notice which particular number or numbers seem to grab my attention more than others. And then I focus on those numbers that are jumping out, and at the same time, I'm stating in my consciousness whatever my objective would be. Say it's restoration of my liver to the creator's norm, or harmonization of my relationship with this person, or erase all negative events, whatever it is. But I hold my focus on the numbers until the whole sequence seems to be shining bright. And in that way, I'm starting to change the distortion. But the step up from that is, while you're focusing at the numbers, whether you're repeating the numbers vocally 3 times or just focusing on them, at the same time you're focusing on it and thinking your objective, you start to notice around you, you start to feel what's happening in or around your physical body. So for instance, when you're practicing, you can start to feel a tingling or a warmth or a shift, and that's telling you the transformation process is happening. So for me, it's like those mental ticks. Yes, this is changing. Yes, this is changing. And so that's the simplest way to start to work with number sequences.
Okay. So you help people with that. Do people come to you to get help when they got physical ailments as well, or?
Yes, but my main focus is to assist people for them to be able to master and shift their consciousness, because I don't want to rescue people. I want people to rescue themselves. So I take very few clients, and it's more focused at understanding people's relationship between creator, soul, spirit, and the physical body, starting to understand the invisible realm that we're working in, even moving, for instance, one of my students regrew her surgically removed ovaries in 3 months, bringing it from the invisible world into the physical world, because even though the ovaries are missing, the energy of the ovary is still there. The information of the ovary is still there. So all we're teaching you is how to work with those tools of creation to bring it into physical reality. So that's where I like to play. I like to play with helping people become their own master of reality. I don't want to go and fix people. It's not
No,
my role.
absolutely. It's fascinating, isn't it? And I kind of feel that these hidden or secret codes have been there for a very long time, and they kind of been secret away from us. And now it's kind of being exposed a little bit more. Maybe we are going to get all those secret codes. The collective's going to be having access to this. What do you reckon?
Absolutely. I mean, because um, most people can repeat a number. It's not hard. Like, for instance, some people think, connecting to their soul is some like angels are blowing trumpets out of the sky or something like that. But if I said to you to connect to the creator is really simple, 11981, and you can repeat that 3 times, and now you are connected to the creator in your consciousness. Today we activated the life, we activated our light body by just using a sequence. So I mean that's where you can start to play. But it's a little simpler. It's so simple that we make it more complicated.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking to someone the other day about different timelines. So through number or sequences or codes, can we jump different timelines? Can we choose our realities in some way, shape, or form?
We can change timelines as soon as we make a decision around it.
Mm,
It's as easy as that. Like yeah, you can say it in words. You
mm,
know, you can go back to 1 hour before the trigger of the cause that led up to your illness,
mm,
and make a new decision that you go on a new timeline, the timeline of creator, timeline of your soul, all the events and the participants who led to what you had currently experienced. They'll go on their path, but your paths are not crossed because now you're shifted onto another timeline. Yeah, it's a decision. It's really easy. It's
It's
really
really interesting you saying, because did you know, Marianne, that I'm a timeline therapist?
Oh, no, I didn't.
And
I'm
what you were
learning something about.
describing was very much we have specific wording, how it basically get to the point in time we take people, we travel. I'm a time traveler. So travel the timeline, going back in time just before the event happened. We go down just before, look at the event, and then what decision did we make then? Then we slowly travel back and change the perception of all subsequent events on the way back. So it's powerful, isn't it? Because we
Yes,
make these decisions and we can actually go in and rearrange um, what actually happened or our perception of it.
yeah. The little difference with us is there's always a trigger that led to a cause, and trigger is generally, for instance, a biological conflict,
Yeah,
perception of something. Um, we don't go and delve into things. So, for instance, when I'm timelining stuff from the past, I look at it like breaks in the timeline, any cloudiness or distortions. And what we use is a silver gold sphere of eternity to harmonize the timeline. But if I drop into that timeline, start to feel emotional or any of the events, I'm actually in the events. I'm
yeah,
just layering another part of it, and I'm just removing the information. I don't need to know the content or context because it's a left brain understanding.
yeah,
Yeah, same thing.
yeah, absolutely. So, is there something that you would like to share with your listeners in regards of numbers as a tangible little perhaps tip or tool that you could give them?
Um, well, I have a number of free number codes that are on our website. Under events,
Yeah.
there are, not under events, under number codes, you'll see that there is some number codes for harmonizing the past, present, and future.
Mm,
And you'll also see if you, I've got a free ebook on how to use numbers. So you
mm,
can download that and take some of the numbers that you find on the page and start to play with them, repeat them, or see them as I described on a sphere, and then start to notice what shifts. Start to really spend time with yourself
mm.
and play. And the best place to play is when you're in nature, because nature is all about life. You don't see the trees arguing with the grass.
No, is that why I am? I've always been. You find myself in nature all the time, literally. I
Yeah,
need a lot of connection with nature.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's interesting. I went actually to your website and I downloaded one of the things and it had all the numbers. And I thought, how do I use that? So you're saying basically I can just repeat those numbers if
You can
it's
repeat
something
it
that,
minute 3 times. Some people chant the number.
okay.
But it's interesting if you're like being musical, if
Mhm.
I repeat a number and then all of a sudden repeat a number that's not in there, I change the number, it seems like I've changed the tune.
Okay.
It's really interesting when you start using numbers, you start to be aware you're sending a frequency, and by shifting the number, you alter it, and it doesn't sound like it was in harmony as you especially notice this after you've repeated it more than 3 times. You
Mm.
keep repeating it and you go, okay, I'm creating. It's how I remember. How do you remember numbers? How do you remember somebody's telephone number? I have to repeat it to myself. It creates like a tune in my head. So I can write it down again. If I've written the wrong number, I say, no, that's not quite right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm laughing because, my post on Facebook today, I found something funny about, phone numbers. It's a picture of an old phone. And it says, I wonder what the part of my brain that used to store people's phone numbers is doing now.
It's funny. We
Yeah.
all remembered each other's phone numbers.
And we don't now. Like I go, I don't even know my daughter's number. I don't know my son's number. Um, Maybe I need to pay more attention to that.
I think so, especially with this current agenda of pushing AI technology. Seems like a great tool, can do write all your copy,
Yeah,
can even write film scripts and even put actors in there.
yeah,
But we need to not let go of the power of using our own thoughts and our own consciousness and hand it up to convenience. We've done that before. Look how it worked.
mm. Another thing, you mentioned Leonardo da Vinci, and it's interesting you mentioning that because I always say Leonardo da Vinci that I have on my wall with all that picture of the body with all the measurements. That's my man. But what I was going to say, he's very, very clever. And I mean, all these number sequences, obviously, it's been known for forever, really.
Yeah, there's a divine order in everything.
Yeah,
If you think of it even from a logical point of view,
yeah,
when you look around the world and you look at the beauty in the world, you
mm,
think, what kind of creator can create such beauty with such intricacies,
yeah, yeah,
magnificent colors? And when you know, look at any of those like David Attenborough going
mm,
into the wildlife and looking at animals, you go, oh my gosh,
yeah,
created that. That's just magnificent.
mm,
Um, yeah, we're only just discovering,
yeah,
almost like we're on the tip of the iceberg of just how powerful we are. And you know, there are so many more other people saying, like Dr. Bruce Lipton, um, Greg Braden. I
yeah,
mean, Greg Braden's research is magnificent when he's gone back and started to overlay the chemical compositions, and he started to see that every strand of DNA starts with God eternal within.
yeah, yeah.
And, and so don't look out there. He's not sitting in the sky with a piece of paper going good, bad, none of that.
And we
He,
are created as an image of God, really, and we've got the power in. If we could realize that, I mean, on a human level, actually grasp that concept. It's such a big concept to grasp as a human. We got the mind that sort of, I mean, it's like if we can believe, fully empower, believe that we can regrowth our ovaries, like you said, like that woman. Or I'm thinking of Joe Dispenza, his story of going through his journey and the accident and then rebuilding the spine. If we can master that, that would be so incredible.
it's only because it's a technology.
Yeah,
And when you realize it's not a miracle, it's a technology, then sure, there's a process, but then you've got to absolutely apply it. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
I think the other thing, when you think of God, it's or creator or whatever it is, it seems like a very big concept, even though just using this. I think the closest thing that I can say to people is develop a good relationship with your soul.
Yeah,
And and it can, you know, Brian's really good at doing this every day. He sits down over coffee. We go out for coffee, and we do this when we come to Bright. He has his little journal, and he says, "Good morning, dear soul." And then he shuts up his left brain and allows words to
yeah,
spill out
mm,
on the paper. And yesterday he said to me, "It's interesting, my journaling is all about the Christ consciousness." And I said, "Funny you should say that because all I'm talking about in my academy classes is anchoring onto the Christ matrix." And then we spoke to one of our colleagues in Kuala Lumpur, and he said, "I've been journaling about the Christ consciousness." So, you
yeah,
know, it's definitely a field, and just sitting down and developing a closer relationship, because the sphere of your soul is sort of located around your heart solar plexus. It doesn't mean that this is where your soul is permanently. Your soul's everywhere at the same time, but this is where it has access in and out of the body. And so to have a relationship with your soul is to start to be truly the full you.
yeah. And I say, if we can be, when I say be completely authentic, that's living, just being us. And when we are ourselves or step into that power, everything's so much easier, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
it
so much
does.
easier because it just flows. And it's kind of a bit laughable, isn't it? That we live in a world that a lot of people kind of, try to be something that they're not. And it's hard work. And if we can just go, now I'm just me. I don't need to have any scripts. I don't need to sit down and read and plan out. I'm just going to be me. I'm just going to share from my heart. It's a lot easier, isn't it?
So much easier when you can do that.
Yeah.
So much good. I just, as I'm about to, wrap up with you, I just noticed our logo E equals VS.
Yeah.
I have it everywhere because it's the formula for the transformation of the energy of life.
Wow.
So having that around you starts to transform any distortions. And you
Yeah.
can easily write it like number sequences on your skin.
Yeah.
Your skin has a 1 centimeter vacuum around it that anything that is written on it, you attract the energy of that. So you can imagine for people that have tattoos that have death and skull
Oh,
and
I do
what
not like it.
not at all. So
Not at
have
all.
so have fun playing with number codes written
Yeah.
on red on your skin.
Yeah. Well, that was absolutely amazing, Marion, and I'm sure people are going to want to learn a lot more about it. I certainly definitely need to set up a personal chat with you so we can discuss more. But it's been a great pleasure. Um, all of you listeners or people who are watching this video or listening to the podcast, make sure you check the information below or above. There will be information to Marion's website and to my own website, so you can contact us both. So again, Marion, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Karen, for having me here. I've really enjoyed playing with you for nearly the last hour.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye.